ahead and throw the journal prompts into the chat. And for those of you that haven't been with us yet, welcome. This is just our weekly support session where we'll spend about 15-20 minutes. I'm going to go over a little lesson, and then we'll have some time afterwards to talk about that. I have a couple questions we can go through, or if you have a question on your heart that you've just been wanting to ask me and you haven't had a chance to, now is your opportunity. We have a completely open Q&A at the end, so feel free to ask me anything regarding the session tonight, or a session previously, the workshop previously, or anything that just is going on in your relationship. That's what I'm here for. I tend to just do, it's just a first come, first serve basis. So if you have a question, you want to throw it in the chat now, I'll be sure to get to it. You can also raise your virtual hand at the end of the session in order to just talk to me one-on-one, and we can do a little hot seat coaching for about 5 or so minutes. I like doing it that way because that way I can ask lots of questions back. But that being said, I'm so excited for tonight's support session, and I'm so glad that you're all here. And so let's be real. While holidays are supposed to be this joyful, magical thing that everyone talks to us about, like, oh, we should all be so happy, Christmas is coming. I mean, for many of us, that can feel incredibly lonely, and that expectation put on top of us can actually make it even harder, because that loneliness is tough. But here's the thing. You're not alone in feeling this way, and you don't have to face it alone either. That's what all of us are here for. And tonight we're going to be talking about coping with loneliness during the holidays. My goal is to give you tools and strategies to help you navigate the season in a way that feels a little lighter and a little more manageable. So we'll cover 3 practical ways to approach loneliness. And by the end of tonight, you'll have tools to feel more grounded, connected, and even hopeful, let's hope, as you navigate the holidays. So in the chat, I put our journal prompts. This is a completely PDF fillable journal prompt that you can use to follow along. You can use to take notes. You can use it after the session, or you can print it out, or you can just use the prompts in your own journaling or in your own mind space as you meditate or pray or just think to yourself as you're driving. Use them how you wish, but there they are for you. And we just had a newbie show up, so let me throw that in there. Hi, Anna. Hello. There is the journal prompts again. And so I'm going to get us started by asking us all a question. So if you want to open up your chat box, I want to know, yay, you do love the journal prompts. I love that you love them because it keeps me making them. So sometimes I'm like, is this useless? Does anyone use these journal prompts? And then I was like, no, I love them. And I write them out myself. So like, I think about them. So it's good. But I want you to open up the chat if you can. And I want to ask, who here has ever felt like the holidays make loneliness feel even harder? So just type yes in the chat if that sounds like you. Ashley, yeah, definitely. There's just something about this heavy weighted expectation of like, you're supposed to be having this fabulous time. Yeah, Anna says yes. Kiki says yes. Ashley, yeah, especially with grief. Oh, that's so true. It's like, these holidays are this time where so much heaviness is happening. There's so much emotion, so much feelings, and there's all these ideas of like, you should be this way. And the thing is holidays are everywhere. You can't get away from them. It's on TV, it's in the stores, it's on social media, and it can feel like everyone else is surrounded by love and family and secure connections. But let's be real, that's not always the case, is it? I know it can feel that way, but it's not. And loneliness, it's not just about being physically alone. Lynette and I were just talking about this before we got started. It's that feeling of disconnection. You know that feeling? Even when you're surrounded by people, tons and tons of family. Maybe you're at a family gathering and you've got 3 aunts, 10 cousins, a grandma, a grandpa, but you still feel like no one is really understanding you. Or maybe you're with friends, you're all out having some drinks, but you still feel like something is missing. Oh, I love this. Yeah. Kiki, and you're putting them directly to me, Kiki, just in case you want to send them to everyone, but because I love this. She calls it the Hallmark movie syndrome. Exactly. It's exactly that. It's like everyone else is having this amazing time. We need to all quit our, big corporate jobs and go move to a small town and go find the love of our lives, right? Like it's that kind of concept that there's so much expectations. But I am wanting to talk about what it's like to kind of navigate those feelings and find these moments of connection and peace throughout all of this. So let's go ahead and start with just the 3 simple strategies to cope with holiday loneliness. So first, we're going to talk about how to reconnect with yourself. Because sometimes the best way to combat loneliness is to start by strengthening the relationship you have with you. And then we're going to dive into how to build meaningful connections with others. So, reaching out to others, maybe in ways that feel authentic and fulfilling to you, even if your usual support system isn't available. It's about getting over those fears, those humps of what are holding us back to actually creating the meaningful connections we're seeking. And then finally, we're going to explore how to redefine the holidays, right? How to completely smash the Hallmark movie syndrome, how to get that out of our minds and allow us to let go of all of these old expectations and create new traditions that actually work for you and where you are right now in your life. So let's start with the first strategy. I want you to reconnect with yourself, okay? So loneliness can feel like a void, but sometimes the best way to fill that space is by turning inward and strengthening the relationship you have with you. So this isn't about ignoring the loneliness or, any sort of toxic positivity or just even that concept of like you have to love yourself to love others first. I can't stand those thoughts. But it's about acknowledging this loneliness inside of you and giving yourself the care and attention you'd give to one of your closest friends. So I had a client and she was feeling really overwhelmed by the silence of her first holiday alone. She had just recently been divorced and her kids had moved out. So this was a really big struggle for her with the holidays coming up. And the previous year, she had spent completely alone. It was a really dark time for her and she was scared to have that happen again. So we worked on creating small intentional rituals to reconnect with herself. She started doing things like journaling. She went out and bought herself this really beautiful holiday journal. You had like holly leaves and all this stuff on there. And what she started journaling about what she loved about the season. She started writing letters to herself, and she would do this while listening to her favorite holiday music. And she would treat herself to a holiday date night. This is something we came up with for her. You see how she's paying attention to her, though? That's what all this is about. She cooked a meal, something that she's always really loved. She lit some candles and she watched her favorite movie. So it's not about replacing what she lost, right? And it wasn't about doing this in a way where it hurt her feelings more. We want to be careful when we're choosing what we have to do. That's why you have to meet yourself where you are. But it's about finding joy and comfort in her own company. And that small shift helped her feel a little less alone and more at peace. Yeah, I love that. Ashley says, I love it. And Lynette says, that all sounds amazing. It does, doesn't it? Just being able to spend that time with yourself. I love it. So once she began feeling more connected to herself, the next step was about reaching outward, finding meaningful ways to connect with others. So let's go ahead and talk about that, because loneliness doesn't always mean a lack of people, does it? Instead, when we are with a bunch of people, we want to find ways to build those meaningful connections with them, because oftentimes it's about a lack of connection. So this step is about reaching out in ways that feel genuine, authentic, and fulfilling to you. Don't worry about what anyone else is expecting. It doesn't matter. If you don't want anything to do with the holidays and you don't want to drink any more hot cocoa and you don't want to listen to another freaking Christmas Carol or watch Hallmark movies and you want to go out and, watch the Purge movies, great. Go find someone to do that with, right? It's about meeting you where you are. So with my client, one of the things we decided to start doing was trying to figure out where can she get connected, because her whole life surrounded her family and her children. And honestly, and this is one of those really terrible things that can happen, but when the divorce happened and when the children left, she even lost most of her family friends. You know what I mean? Like the ones with the moms and the couples, and they didn't want to invite her over anymore. She had no one the previous year. But we started doing some digging and some research. I don't know if anyone knows about like meetup.com. It's very cool. But she joined a local book club and they were hosting a holiday potluck, which is really fun. She loves to cook. So she decided to join that and make like her famous chili, which is really great. And what she also did was reach out to an old college friend that she hadn't spoke to in years and invited her out for coffee. Now, both of these were incredibly vulnerable for her. Putting herself out there was really hard. And we worked through what some of those wounds were that were holding her back. But the result, she rediscovered connections that she didn't even realize that she was missing. So by focusing on quality over quantity, she was able to find new meaningful interactions and connections, and that they made a big difference in how she felt in the moment. So, with her learning how to reconnect with herself, she was able to then start building meaningful connections because she wasn't coming from a place of lack towards these connections. She was coming from a place of, I just want to be around people. And then the final piece is letting go of what the holidays used to look like and creating something new that felt authentic to her. So that's what we want to do next. We want to redefine what the holidays actually mean to us. Did I mess that up? I missed the thing. Oh, there I am. Doesn't matter. Okay, here we go. If I missed this one, let me put it back just so people can see. This is the, what do I missed the entire slide. Do you see that? Look, there's one missing. Ah, this is great. This is what happens in life. Mistakes always happen. But there you go. If I can find the other one, I'll put it up for you guys. But you get the idea. So let's redefine the holidays. So that's what this one should be. Because we often carry a lot of weight when it comes to what the holidays should look like. But sometimes letting go of those old expectations, they actually open up the door to creating something new. We talked about this in a couple support sessions back, but it's that same concept of transitions. So if anyone's interested in learning more about how transitions can actually be an incredible growth moment, let me know. I can send you that link. But this is the same thing. When we are starting to look like we're having a new holiday, that's a transition. This is an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for a door to open to create something new, something that feels authentic to where you are in your life right now. So for this client, this meant she stepped away from what the holidays used to be, big family gatherings with all of her family friends and everything going on. And so instead of cooking a big dinner or decorating her entire house, because she was like, Jen, why am I buying all of this stuff to put around the house? Why am I putting all this stuff up there when I'm the only one that's looking at it? And so we had to talk about that. I was like, do you want to put it up for you? Put it up. And she was like, actually, no, I don't want to. I always put it up for everyone else. And I said, great. So stop decorating your house. And she's just stopped. And instead, she took all of that money. And this is so cool. I love this. And she chose to go volunteer at an animal shelter for the month, and actually extended on until later. I haven't talked to her recently, but this kept going for her. It was a way for her to meet people, and she decorated the animal shelter for them. So again, doing it for other people, you find what works for you. But this is what she was able to do. She was able to redefine what Christmas looked like to her. And later on, so she would do the animal shelters. And then one last thing she did was she wrote letters to her kids. So sharing her hopes for them for the upcoming year, and she mailed them out. And so this was like a way she could still be connected with them, love on them, and still allow them their autonomy and their independence to grow. So these small personal traditions started giving her a sense of purpose and connection that didn't rely on anyone else's time or expectations. And so for the first time in since that last Christmas when she was so devastated, she actually felt at peace with her new version of the holidays. And she's going to continue on those traditions moving forward. So by reconnecting with herself and building meaningful connections and then redefining what her holidays actually look like, she found a way to cope with loneliness that worked for her. So let's go ahead and put this all together. So first we see her journey, right? So she started with reconnecting with herself. That's where we want to start. We want to figure out first and foremost, what do we need? What can we pamper ourselves with? What can we love on ourselves with? Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's walking. Maybe it's taking a nap. Maybe it's sitting at home watching Hallmark movies because you still love them, but understanding that that's not what your life has to look like, right? It doesn't matter. Do whatever it is that feels right to you. And then she began reaching out. So that's a big vulnerable step. Let me know if you need help with that. But she began reaching out and building meaningful connections with other people, old friends that she hadn't talked to, new people in the book club, at the animal shelter. She just started putting herself out there, and it was a huge progress. And so taking these small but courageous steps to rediscover relationships really helped her in the moment. And then finally, she redefined what holidays even meant for her. She stopped decorating her house just for her. She put up a couple things, and she took all of that energy and she put it outwards to someone else again, because that's what she loves to do. She let go of all of these old expectations of what her life was supposed to look like. And she started living in a fulfilled way because she started creating new traditions. And by the end of the season, she didn't just survive the holiday. She didn't just get through them. She didn't just, as I say sometimes, hold on tight, let the wave come over you. And instead, she created moments of peace and joy and connection. She didn't feel lonely anymore. And it's not perfect, and I know we still talked about the sadness and the loneliness and the grief of not having her family, because that's allowed in all of this. Feeling that sadness is allowed. In fact, we need to be able to feel it. I'm not asking you to push away that grief. I'm asking you to just hold space for it and to still show up for yourself in ways where you're so capable of navigating things on your own terms. So, with all of that said, let me throw up some questions. Here's a couple questions that we can look into tonight. And one of them is, these are all the questions that are also on the support, on the journal prompts. What's one way that you can reconnect with yourself this holiday season? Maybe we could go around and talk about that later. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's taking yourself on a holiday date. Oh, you know what I love? I just thought about this. I have this thing where I like to go and stay in a hotel room by myself. I just did it recently. It wasn't for a holiday thing, but it was just for myself. I just really wanted time alone. And I was like, I need to go book a hotel. So I booked a fancy hotel and, got myself a glass of wine and sat out by a balcony, and it was just really lovely. And that's what I do sometimes to kind of go on a date with myself and when I'm just feeling a bit off. But let's look at the other question too. Who could you reach out to? Even if it feels a little scary, if it's a little vulnerable to do, is there someone in your life that maybe they would love a text from you or a call or like a coffee date? And we could talk about that here. If there's someone that you have in mind, but there's something holding you back from reaching out to them, let me know. We could talk through that and we could see what's the fear coming up. What's the worst case scenario that could happen? Let's dig into where that's coming from. And then lastly, what's one new tradition you could create that feels meaningful to you? So it doesn't have to be big. It could just be lighting a candle. It could be just putting out a new tree. It could be just buying a new ornament every year. It could be deciding that you don't want to put up a Christmas tree. It could be deciding that you want to put up the Christmas tree in October because now you have nobody telling you not to. It's whatever you want. It just has to feel authentic to where you are right now. That's the most important part. So take a moment. Think about these if you want to. And this is your chance to turn what we've talked about tonight into something that feels personal and actionable for you. So with all of that said, that is us for the learning lesson for the evening. Let me go ahead and also mention that if for any reason, oh, hey, Anna, I see you're back. Great. Anna, I will get you that transition link. Let me grab it in a second for you. But if anyone have any questions, anything at all, anything to do with what we're talking about today, I'll leave it open for open questions. Otherwise, I will start just, asking things and calling on people.